I want to talk a little more about Sherrone Moore's Monday press conference, just in terms of some of the bullet point things. Injury wise, Will Johnson was asked about. Chris, I believe you were the one that asked him about just the attitude of guys maybe potentially shutting it down. And Sherrone more or less said that no, he's not shutting it down. We expect to see him again at some point this season. Could be this week, could be next. They don't think that Will John they're not only do they not think, they're pretty steadfast in the fact that we will see him. His injury is not season ending. He's not opting out. Other injury notes, not sure yet on Andrew Gentry, who's played well at right tackle, though Evan Link played pretty well in his stead on Saturday night. Brandon Hillman got carted off the field as well. I'd assume if they were season ending, there would be some sort of confirmation of that. But on the injury front, those were good things to hear, especially on the Will Johnson side of things.
Yeah, I want to go back to that question for 1 second when he says, "Are we a multi QB system now?" Only in the sense that you're going to get a little more Alex Orji in running situations, and we've seen that before, and it hasn't worked well because teams are stacking the line. Michigan State did not play those well, and that was another thing that Gator brought up today on 97.1 when I was listening, and he's right. He's going to run the ball; they're not going to let him throw it. So, where are your safeties 10 to 12 yards back? That was silly. And so I think it works to the extent that as long as they're having success with it, you can keep going back to it. And I'm not minimizing in any way what Alex Orji meant to that team. He was as important in that win on Saturday as anybody on that field, in my opinion, especially at the end. Somebody mentioned on the message board, this feels like the 2015 game. And then when you got down to it and you saw the disparity in the yardage and you saw that Michigan might have to punt if they couldn't get a first down. And I'm thinking, oh, God, here we go again, especially with the way Tommy Doman's been kicking the ball. Come on, kid. You got to step up. But you know what? I think I give Alex Orji all the credit in the world, and Davis Warren too. And I loved seeing those guys celebrating together at the end of the game. You can tell how much they mean to each other. As far as Ohio State, I would not bet on that one. This is a fragile team when it goes on the road. We've seen that. We saw it at Illinois. Something's missing there. Maybe if you somehow pull out a win against Oregon, and then you go to Indiana and surprise the Hoosiers. Hilarious to say that, but then you have some momentum, and then maybe you say, okay, this team's got a shot. But right now, I wouldn't bet on that. But anything can happen, and I'm just again, more relief than anything. But as far as injuries go, the only reason that I asked Sherrone more about Will Johnson and the shutting it down thing, I want to make it clear that that wasn't me saying, "Hey, Will Johnson is shutting it down." I wanted him to dispel the garbage that okay, this kid doesn't care about Michigan and he just wants to worry about his career. We knew that to not be the case. He wanted to go back in the Illinois game, but we see it all the time. He shut it down. It's a business decision, so on and so forth. And he said, absolutely not. The kid's got way too much character, and that won't be the case. So I hope we see him out there next week. They're going to need him against Oregon, but knowing his family and knowing who this kid is, I figured that's exactly how Sherrone Moore would answer that question. As far as Gentry, we won't be seeing him soon, from based on what I've heard. It's not an Achilles. Somebody mentioned that it looked like an Achilles injury. It is not, but it's not something that's insignificant either. So, but I give credit to Evan Link for coming in there and doing a pretty damn good job when Gentry went down too and rising up, even though he lost his job. That's a sign of, okay, you got a team that's still invested.
Yeah, we actually had a friend of Andrew Gentry's on our message board who said that, yeah, it's not an Achilles, that it probably won't be around soon, but you wish him the best. That didn't look good, right, on the field. And I don't know where this narrative started with Will Johnson. Like, he's one of the guys that when Michigan had a coaching change this past offseason was keeping the team together. He's been a leader on this team despite being a junior, not eligible to be a captain, but as much of a leader as anybody out there on the Michigan defense. He's been mentoring all these younger defensive backs like Jair Hill and Zeke Berry, same age as him, but way less experience. And, we've heard some details on his injury that not at liberty to share, but it's not like he's just over there in street clothes because he doesn't want to play. He obviously does. And it was great to hear that he should be back at some point this season, because you never know how severe it could be. So you have that. And just to go back to the comment that we just brought up, well, Nebraska looked like a pretty fragile road team to me last week when they lost 56-7, and then they went in and almost beat Ohio State in Columbus. So you never know what can happen. College football is crazy, and it's a week-to-week league, as they say, to bring out one of the cliches.
Yeah, I mean, Will Johnson isn't Anthony Richardson checking himself out of a game
That was
because he was
crazy.
too tired. I've never seen anything like that before.
He was tired. Yeah.
Yeah. Running quarterback got tired. Breaking news. Just an additional shout out to Evan Link. Looking at his PFF grade right now, graded out as an 85.9 in the pass blocking department. And for a guy that has put up a pair of he put up 2 blue Tarskis this year, 0.0 in that category.
Explain what that means to Clay.
I will when you're older, Clayton. Texas and USC games. I mean, Michigan State is no Texas or USC. I think they only have 1 sack in Big Ten play, which is kind of nuts to think about. But that was a nice job by him, and good to see because he's a young guy that has a future on this offensive line, and you want to see guys be able to come in and do their jobs when they can. So, any other takeaways from Sherrone's press conference? I know it's more or less onward to Oregon. They're excited for the opportunity. A lot of good players, great team. Dan Lanning is a guy that will not turtle in a big game situation. So excited to see him and Sherrone Moore match wits. But any other thoughts from the Monday press conference?
No, I thought that he looked relaxed and relieved, and I was happy for him to get that win because I really think he needed it. I think the fan base turns on him if he loses to Michigan State in year 1. And he was the first Michigan head coach since 1948 and Benny Oosterbaan to win that first game against Michigan State. So congratulations to him and for really rallying his team when they were down, guys. It could have been 10-0. That game could have been damn close to over the way that they were not playing, frankly. And he got into him. He lit into him a little bit, got a couple of plays. The offensive line started playing better. So congratulations to him for winning when everybody except for Clay thought that he was going to lose. And so I am very, very happy for him.
I certainly was not out on a limb. Most people thought Michigan would win. They were Vegas favorites. So I can't take any credit for that one, although I will take credit for the USC pick earlier in the year. I think they were counted out in that one. But this one was as expected, and it was one of those ones where you wait for Sherrone Moore to come out of that door for his press conference there at Schembechler Hall, and you could just tell, right? Vibes were a little bit better. He was feeling good, and it just the pressure that's on these guys and how much it means to all of them, especially in a rivalry game, and a lot of the things that you're going to be remembered for, these certain records, right? It's the overall record, it's championships, it's Big Ten playoff appearances, bowl games, but one of them is going to be your record against Michigan State, even though it's not the biggest game of the year, and one of them is going to be the Ohio State game, which is the biggest game of the regular season. And to check that box, I think in year 1 it was huge. We wrote about that last Thursday, that Benny Oosterbaan in 1948 was the last Michigan coach to win their first meeting against Michigan State. That was in our By the Numbers article. And I hope BTN seemed like they might have been perusing the Wolverine.com earlier in the week. But yeah, 7 straight Michigan coaches lost their first meeting against Michigan State. Jonathan Smith joins a list there of quite a few Michigan State coaches to lose their first. You hope if you're a Michigan fan, that doesn't motivate him the way that Bo Schembechler was motivated by the loss in '69. But Bo obviously did great things, was going to win a lot of games either way, and had a lot of talent, and you're at a better program. But Sherrone Moore gets to check that box and feel a little bit better about things going forward here into a really tough November.
If we're going to retroactively pat ourselves on the back for staff picks, shout out to me for the Blake Corumless Wolverines beating Ohio State in 2022. Probably the last staff pick I won, to be honest with you. So
it might be.
Got to savor
but
that at some
you've
point.
been robbed a couple times by some backdoor covers by Doug Skeen. So there you go.
Well,
and Anthony did his best to jinx Donovan Edwards last week. I think the jinx is off. Donovan Edwards throws a touchdown pass, second of his career.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was pretty impressive. There you
go.
It was good to exercise that demon. It was a long time coming. So again, shout out to me above all else.
The curse is over. Curse is over.
Curse lifted.